If you're new to our channel, we'd love to have you join our little community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We promise it will be worth your while. My wife is standing over me, watching me as I recount this story, tears welling up in my eyes. She wants me to make sure I tell you everything. My name is Leon, and about 8 months ago, it was Lee. It all began when I was a successful young executive earning a very comfortable living. My wife and I had a beautiful home, a 3-car garage, and enjoyed luxurious vacations for a year to the most exclusive destinations around the globe. Now life has drastically changed. I rarely leave the house anymore, not just because I'm ashamed of my current situation, but because my wife won't allow it. She now earns the income and dictates every aspect of our lives. About 10 months ago, I began an affair with a stunning woman named Debbie, whom I met on a business trip. She was beautiful, blonde, shapely, and had a captivating personality. I was instantly smitten. We enjoyed romantic dinners, sightseeing excursions, and shared intimate moments. I never revealed my marital status to her, and naturally, I kept my wife in the dark about the affair. 6 weeks into our relationship, we were scheduled to attend a conference together. My mind was filled with anticipation, dreaming of the time we'd have together. I arrived at the conference center the Sunday before the event and checked into my hotel. We'd planned to meet in the bar for drinks before heading to a fancy restaurant. After settling into my room and freshening up, I headed to the bar. I spotted her instantly chatting with one of my colleagues, Philip. She rushed over, embraced me, and kissed me deeply. Then I saw Philip standing there, stunned and speechless. Debbie took my hand and pulled me over to the bar where Philip was standing. "Hello, Lee," he greeted me. "Have you and Sue separated?" "Who's Sue?" Debbie asked, confused. "Oh, Sue is Lee's presumably ex-wife," Philip explained. Wife Debbie's face turned shocked. "You didn't tell me you were married, you scoundrel." She slapped me across the face and stormed off, sobbing. I hesitated for a moment before following her. "Debs, wait," I called out, but she didn't slow down. I eventually caught up with her and gently grasped her elbow. She spun around, brought her knee up into my groin, and I doubled over in pain. "I hope you rot in hell," she screamed, and ran off again. I returned to the bar, dejected and humiliated. Philip was still there, his face still etched with shock. "Goodness, Lee," he said, "you're quite the fool. If your wife finds out, you'll be in a terrible predicament." "Well, she won't find out," I muttered. "It seems like it's over now." Debbie never came back. She checked out that night, telling her boss she wasn't feeling well, and returned home. I spent the rest of the week at the conference, completely bored. I had the option of not attending, but decided to stay in hopes of spending time with Debbie. I returned home. On Friday evening, Sue greeted me with open arms, looking radiant in a long white satin nightdress and matching robe. She gave me a tender kiss. "Wow, W, I thought my wife is beautiful and is showing me a whole new side of herself. Oh, Lee, I've missed you so much," she whispered in my ear. She took my hand and led me to the bedroom. As we entered, my eyes widened in disbelief. The room had been completely redecorated in pastel pink with a huge four-poster bed adorned in white lace. Candles flickered softly around the room, creating a romantic atmosphere and filling the air with a sweet floral scent. It was breathtaking. "Tata, what do you think?" Sue asked. I could only stare, speechless, until she closed the gap between us with another kiss. My arms instinctively wrapped around her, pulling her closer, and a soft moan escaped her lips into mine. She gently pulled away. "Get ready, darling, and I'll pour us some drinks," she said. "That would be lovely," I replied. She smiled and slipped out of the room. I walked over to the bed, sat down, and bounced slightly. It felt wonderfully comfortable. I lay back, closed my eyes, and let out a sigh. Philip was right, I mused. "You have the most amazing woman a man could ask for." A smile formed on my lips. I felt a gentle nudge on my leg. "Here you are, sweetheart," she said, handing me a glass of champagne. "Wow, champagne? Thank you, my love," I said. "It's a celebration," she explained. I looked at her with a puzzled expression. "What for?" "I got that job at Medicom," she said, beaming. "Oh, that's fantastic," I exclaimed. "Congratulations." She sat beside me, and we clinked our glasses in a toast. "That's not all," she declared excitedly. "What?" I asked. "They offered me the position of head pharmacist at a very generous salary. We'll never have to worry about anything again," she said, radiating happiness. "We don't worry about anything now," I reassured her. "You know what I mean," she replied with a giggle. "Let me get us another drink." She left the room. She returned a few minutes later with 2 more glasses of champagne. "Drink up, darling," she urged. I took another sip as she watched me with an enormous grin. I awoke the next morning to find Sue lying on top of me. I could feel the smooth satin of her nightgown against my skin. It felt wonderful to have a beautiful woman so close. Then she stirred, her eyes fluttered open, and she looked at me with a smile. "Good morning, sexy," she purred. I smiled back and kissed her gently. She rolled off me and slid out of bed. I couldn't help but admire her naked form. Simply beautiful. I'm the luckiest man in the world. I thought, wait a minute, I gasped. She's naked. I reached out to touch myself, and my fingers encountered the satin of a night dress. I lifted the sheets and saw to my astonishment that I was indeed dressed in Sue's nightgown. What on earth? I exclaimed. What's the matter, darling? Sue asked. I'm wearing your nightgown. What's the matter? Yes, and how attractive you look, and you've never made love to me like that before. We'll have to do it more often, she said. I couldn't even remember making love to her, let alone putting on her nightgown. I climbed out of bed and started to remove the nightgown. Sue walked over to me and wrapped her arms around me. She kissed me softly. I let go of the nightgown, allowing it to fall back around me, and held her close. The kiss deepened, and I felt myself becoming aroused despite the satin enclosure. You are so alluringly, Sue murmured as she ran her hands down my waist. It felt wonderful. Make love to me again like you did last night, she whispered. As she spoke, my erection disappeared. I stared at her in shock. She ran her hands over my groin, caressing me through the satin fabric. Please, Lee, make love to me, she practically begged. Nothing happened. My member wouldn't respond. She kissed me passionately again, and I felt my arousal return. Yes, she said, now make love to me. My erection vanished again. It simply went limp. What's wrong? She asked. Don't you want to make love to me? I looked into her eyes, unsure of what to say. I'm sorry, I whispered. Of course I do. I don't know what the problem is. She placed her finger over my lips. Shoo, she said, we have plenty of time. She smiled at me. Come on, Lee, let's have some breakfast, and then we'll go shopping. I need to pick up some new things for my new job. Sue slipped on her robe, and I tried to remove the nightgown once more. Oh, please, Lee, leave it on. You look so sexy. Just until after breakfast. Just for me, please. I looked at her, smiled, and said, anything for you, my love. She took my hand and led me downstairs to the kitchen. Just a quick breakfast. This morning we'll eat at the mall, she said. We had a light breakfast of grapefruit and whole wheat toast. Then we washed up and got dressed. The drive to the mall took about 20 minutes. It was a cold gray day, and a light drizzle fell from the sky. I need to get a couple of new work suits, Sue said. I need to look professional. We entered a large department store and headed straight for the women's clothing section. This place is enormous, I thought. Sue went straight to where the suits were displayed. There are so many to choose from, Lee. I'll need your opinion. Remember, professional, she declared. She pulled a black pinstripe suit off the rack and held it up. I think all business women should have at least one pinstripe suit, don't you, Lee? I guess, was my only response. Oh, come on, Lee, give me some constructive feedback. With that, she marched over to the fitting rooms. Wait for me here, and then you can tell me what you think. She emerged from the cubicle after about 5 minutes. She looked very smart. The jacket cinched in at her waist, and the skirt fell to her knees, the picture of a professional businesswoman. She tried on 4 more outfits and ended up buying them all. She handed me the bags and asked me to carry them for her. Next, we went to the shoe department. She tried on about 6 different pairs and bought them all. By this time, I was overloaded with bags, so she took 2 for herself. Our next stop was the lingerie section. I felt a pang of embarrassment standing in this part of the store. I didn't know why, but it felt like I was intruding on a space reserved for women. She bought several bra and panty sets, stockings, tights, and even a corset. I wondered why she was buying that. Her body was lovely as it was, but I must admit the thought of her and it did pique my interest. Then she went over to the nightgown section. She rummaged through the racks and pulled out a long baby pink satin nightgown with a deep V neckline and lace trim. She held it up in front of her and looked at me. Then she smiled and winked. She bought that nightgown and 3 others, all long and made of silky satin. Come on, she said, let's go eat. We went to the food court and found an empty table. I placed all the bags on the floor and asked Sue what she wanted to eat. I'll get it, she said. You wait here and keep an eye on the bags. She returned with 2 bowls of salad. I looked up at her a little disappointed. I really wanted a burger. We should try to eat healthier, she said as she placed the salad in front of me. We finished our salads and decided it was time to go home. I felt somewhat satisfied with the salad, but decided I'd make a sandwich. When we got back, when we arrived home, Sue asked me to take the bags upstairs to our room and said she'd make us a couple of drinks. I struggled to carry all the bags up the stairs, but managed it in 2 trips. I returned to the living room where Sue was seated on the couch. She reached for a table and handed me a glass of scotch. I thanked her and sat down beside her. Putting my arm around her, we enjoyed our drinks, and Sue poured me another. I thought to myself how fortunate I was to have such a loving, beautiful wife. I awoke the next morning with Sue lying beside me, her arm draped across my chest. I looked down at myself and received a shock. I was wearing a nightgown again, this time the pink one she had bought the day before. I carefully slipped out of bed, trying not to disturb Sue, and stood up. As I pulled the nightgown over my head, I was met with another Surprise underneath it, I was wearing a pair of pink satin panties, the ones she had bought the previous day. I stood there speechless. Sue stirred a little, her eyes fluttered open, and she looked at me and smiled. "Where's your nightgown, Lee?" she asked. I simply stared at her with a puzzled expression. I had no idea what was happening, and why was she referring to it as my nightgown? "Oh, Lee," she exclaimed, "you've just tossed it on the floor in a heap. I'm not going to buy you nice things if you don't take care of them. Now pick it up and put it back on before you catch a chill." I didn't move. I was completely dumbfounded, my mind spinning. "Did you hear me?" she snapped. "Pick up the nightgown and put it back on now." Sue's voice was edged with irritation. I attempted to stammer a reply, but was cut off by her sharp command, "Lee," and I froze, my mind racing, utterly confused and frightened. Sue had never raised her voice to me before. "Lean," she repeated. "Are you listening to me?" I nodded. For some reason, I was unable to speak. "Good, now put your nightgown back on." I nodded again and bent down to retrieve the discarded nightgown. I fumbled with it for a few seconds before slipping it over my head and securing the thin straps there. "That's better," Sue said. "Now come and sit on the bed." I walked over to the bed and sat down, unable to resist the urge. Sue spoke again. "Leanne, is Lean there?" I nodded. "Good, let him pay attention to what I'm saying. This is for him." I nodded again. "Lee, I know you can hear me. I know all about your little fling with Debbie. She came here while you were at the conference and told me everything. We decided that you should face the consequences of your infidelity. So from now on you will do exactly as I instruct you to do. Do you understand?" I nodded. "Right, this is how it's going to be, Lee. When you hear the word lean, you will enter a trance-like state, just as you are now. You will understand everything I say and follow my instructions to the letter. Is that clear?" I nodded again. "Good, now here's your first instruction. You will do everything I tell you without complaint. You will feel a strong urge to complain, but you won't be able to. You'll know that what you're doing isn't right. You'll feel humiliation and embarrassment, and you might even cry. What I say is law to you. Do you understand?" I nodded my head affirmatively. "Good, now when I say the words 'Lee is out,' you will come out of your trance, and remember the instructions I've just given you. Is that clear?" I nodded. "Lee is out," she declared. I looked up at her, then down at myself in the nightgown. I was about to ask what was happening when she said, "You will wear satin nightgowns to bed every night. You want to wear a satin nightgown to bed every night, don't you?" I looked at her with a confused expression, then said, "Oh yes, Sue, may I? Do you mind?" Sue grinned. "No, Lee, I don't mind, but you'll also wear satin panties." My mind was racing. I didn't want to wear a nightgown or panties. I tried to tell her this, but all that came out was, "Oh, of course I'll wear satin panties too. That's fine, Lee, not a problem. Now let's have some breakfast." We went downstairs and sat down to a bowl of oatmeal and whole wheat toast. "I think we should go back to the mall, Lee. Let's hurry and get dressed." We finished breakfast and went back upstairs. I pulled the nightgown over my head and slipped off the panties. "Lee, if you're going to wear nightgowns and panties, I think you should remove all of your body hair, go into the bathroom and shower, then wait for me." My mind was screaming no, but I just nodded and said, "Okay, Sue," and headed for the bathroom. I showered and stood there naked in the shower. Sue came in and told me to hold my arms out straight to my sides. She then applied a cream all over my body. "Lee, this is the last time I do this for you. From now on, you'll do it yourself every day. You are to ensure that your body is completely hair-free, except for the hair on your head, beard, and eyebrows. Do you understand?" I didn't understand, but nodded anyway and said, "Yes, my love." She left the cream on for about 15 minutes, then washed it off. My body hair was completely gone. I was as bare as the day I was born. Sue then applied a sweet-smelling lotion all over my body. "Lee, you will use this lotion after every time you shave. Got that?" I nodded. "Okay, let's get dressed and head out to the stores. This is going to be so much fun." We went back to the bedroom, and Sue went straight to my dresser. She opened the top drawer and took out another pair of panties, lemon-colored satin with a small amount of white lace around the waist and leg openings. "Put these on, Lee." My mind was in turmoil. I was trying my best to resist, but it seemed I had no control over my actions. I reached out, took the panties, and pulled them up my now hairless legs. Sue watched me with a wide grin, then turned back to the drawer. When she spun around this time, she was holding a matching bra, also in lemon-colored satin with a white lace trim. "This bra goes with the panties." Lee put it on. My arms wouldn't move. They remained at my sides. I was trembling, using every ounce of willpower to stop myself from taking the bra. Sue was clearly enjoying my discomfort. She tilted her head to one side and sent a broad smile my way. She held out her arm, dangling the bra from her finger. By one of the straps, my resolve broke, and I took the dreaded garment from her. I held it in my hands for a few moments. "Here, let me do it for you," Sue said in a mocking tone. She held the bra out in front of me, and I slipped my arms through the straps. "Turn around, Lee," She snapped. I spun around, and she fastened the bra at the back. Okay, Lee, let's finish getting dressed. We're what's on the bed. I walked over to the bed and was relieved to see my own clothes lying there, a pair of jeans, black socks, and a red t-shirt. I got dressed quickly to cover up the underwear I was wearing. When I looked in the mirror, I was horrified to see the outline of the bra clearly visible under my t-shirt. I quickly removed the t-shirt and tried to unfasten the bra, but my hands wouldn't obey. I couldn't get it off. I pushed my wool harder and harder, but it was no use. Sue burst into laughter. You'll never get it off, Lee. Not until I say you can now put your t-shirt back on, and be quick about it. Tears streamed down my face as I picked up the t-shirt and slipped it over my head for the second time. Sue spoke again. Do you know what you are, Lee? She asked. I looked at her through tear-filled eyes. You are a man wearing women's underwear, she said, bursting into laughter once more. And you're going to go outside wearing women's underwear. In fact, from this moment forward, the only underwear you will wear will be women's underwear. Do you understand? I could only say yes, Sue, and burst into tears again. What is happening to me? Good, now come along, Lee. Dry those tears. We're going shopping over time, Lee. Now Leanne adapts to his new reality. He becomes proficient in the routines Sue has imposed upon him: the daily hair removal, the meticulous application of lotions, and the constant wearing of feminine undergarments. His initial resistance fades, and a strange sense of acceptance begins to grow. While he still experiences moments of sadness and longing for his former life, eventually understands that his punishment is a constant reminder of his betrayal. He learns to manage his emotions and finds a sense of stability within this strange new existence. His life is no longer one of luxury and freedom, but it is a life where he learns to adapt and finds a certain peace within his new circumstances. It is not a happy ending, but a sense of closure, where Leaf finds a way to exist within the transformed reality that Sue has created.